Good morning and welcome. I'm Bob Paster. I'm your host for a live podcast about how to fight CPS. And hang on and get back your children. Now, I know most of you that are finding me, you found me on Facebook fighting CPS. I'm broadcasting on YouTube live from Southern California, and I'm using the StreamYard application. Now, we can interface with me. There's several ways you can interface with me or join me in the discussion about CPS. Now, CPS that I'm talking about is a child protection system. It's called many names in different states, but it all pertains to the branch of social services that deals with the protection of our children from neglect and abuse and family reunification. And with all sincerity, I know you all are in here because you love your child and you want to know ways to get them back. I'm not a lawyer, but I have, 15 years of fighting CPS. I had a case myself for 3 years. And I know what you're going through. I've been there. I'm a caring, loving father of 6 children. Been married for 32 years. And at this time of my life, it is rough. It is rough for me right now. I'm trying to regain my composure and regain my life at age 74. It's a tough battle. The ways you can work in this podcast that you could interface with me is one way, and I got the phone number up, is a call on my office phone. It's 626-698-0990. And I'll answer between the hours of 10 in the morning for 1 hour Pacific Standard Time, and evening at 7 p.m. for 1 hour Pacific Standard Time. I'm on 7 days a week. That's 14 shows. And if you want to find that on Sunday, I come on earlier. I come on a couple hours earlier at 8 o'clock in the morning Pacific Standard Time. But those are the show times I'm on, and the phone is available during those times to talk. On the show, I'll put you on speakerphone, and the group here that's listening will help you, and I can help you, and it's really, really great. Now, if you're not ready to call, that's okay. You can type in comments. Now, when typing in comments, and I want to welcome Lori Hiller, who has listed William Mullins, and then Tracy Smith. Good point. Never give up. When you guys text in a comment, I like it to pertain to CPS, a CPS question. It could be about your friend, if you're a grandmother, about your daughter or your son. Anyway, anything related to the child protection system. Now, please show me your name, city, state, or country, and be complete with your CPS case so that I could answer it pretty shortly. So when I mean complete, I mean start at the beginning, how many fathers or how many mothers or how many kids and what the allegations were, and go through all that, and then your question, I can try to help you there. So that's the second way. You can call in or text in comments. Now, you may not be ready to text and comment or call in, so you can be a guest on our show. And to be a guest, all you're going to do is contact our show producer. Her name is Grace. She's a fantastic woman that helps me with my show and helps you get on, and would help you with the guidelines and so forth. So all you do is email my show producer at grace@vincentwdavis.com. That's grace@vincentwdavis.com. And you just need to tell her I want to be on Bob's Tuesday show in the morning, or his Sunday show in the evening, or his Monday show in the morning. You just pick the date and you pick the time, either AM or PM. And she'll do the rest, and she'll contact you and tell you how you can be a guest. And I had several guests last week. I'd love to have some more of this week. And it's really helpful that you could do that. So I'm going to go back and put the phone number. There's my number. And I'll check my phone to make sure it's taking calls. Also, I have two special people. I have lots of special people, but Danielle's been my co-host, but she's had computer glitches, and so she's without a computer here. And so okay. Okay, it seems like my phone is working, and I'm able to take the phone calls at that office number I gave you. And looks good. Looks really, 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 really good. Okay. So the phone's all set to go to take calls. I'm all set to go. And so far we have two people in the room. Oh, we have several people in the room. We have two comments so far in the room here. And that is a warm welcome. And a warm welcome to the other people that are listening in. This is a tough agency that you have to deal with. They're not going to be your friend. They're going to lie. They're not transparent. They use the police a lot to do their muscling because you're going to feel intimidated. You have to understand, and this is my rule number 3. You do not have to talk to social workers. You don't have to talk to police. Just be courtesy. It's a yes, no answers. The less you say, the better off you are. So, also, I want to tell you is you don't let them in your home. That's a no-no. Why? Well, just the other day or last month or month before last, I think it was May 3rd, an Air Force vet, Air Force serviceman, airman, was shot point blank when he opened his door 5 times. He died on FaceTime, the phone, talking to his girlfriend. And you're probably wondering, whoa, why? Well, there was the disturbance called in that there's domestic violence. And I think they were at the wrong place because when the sheriff came, he did a lot of stupid things. He asked the manager if they could point out, but she wasn't sure where the domestic violence was. So she led him to an apartment. Instead of the sheriff listening through the wall or trying to see if there's a window or trying to see different angles or anything, he right away banged on the door hard, said nothing, banged on the door a second time, said nothing. And by the third time, he said, "Open up, this is the sheriff," in a gruff voice. Well, the person in the room, who is a a 23-year-old serviceman who just recently joined the Air Force or been in the Air Force for a year or two since high school. Thought it was somebody that was going to harm him. So he had a license. So he grabbed his gun. He walked to the door. And see, that's where the mistake happened, because first of all, you don't want to go to the door with a gun, even though his gun was pointed to the ground. It wasn't pointed at the officer. But when he opened the door, the officer saw the gun in his hand and right away fired 5 shots. And I don't understand why the officer didn't learn in his how to shoot guns and how to take down people. He didn't learn to shoot the guy in the foot, the hand, the shoulder, the arm, the less vital section of the body. Why he shot directly to the chest 5 times. And the guy did not have the gun cocked or pointed at him. It was pointed down. And he wasn't sure. Now, the sheriff could have said, maybe off to the side of the door jamb, said, "This is the sheriff department. We have a suspect there's domestic violence going on. If you're in there, please open the door, lay down, put your hands behind your head, and if you have a weapon, put it to the side, not touching it, and unlock the door." Then what the sheriff could have done from the side of the door jamb, reach up, open the door, swing it open, look around. And if he sees a gentleman on the ground, he could go there, handcuff him, and then search the rest of the place for anybody else. And he could also kick the gun further away from the body. But at least he knew where the weapon was. And that's one way to disarm it, and the man would be alive today, and the sheriff wouldn't be in a lot of problems. But that's how our society is. And right now, the police are very sensitive of being shot themselves. And they think the only way to handle a situation is to fire first and ask questions later. But firearms do kill. And so with me saying that rule number 3, don't answer the door, I just want to impress on your mind how dangerous that is to be around the front door when someone tries to knock. I had a knock the other day. I'm not going to run to it. I'm not going to look to it. I got a mailbox. I got a phone. If they want to get a hold of me, they know how they get a hold of me. Anybody else can wait. They can leave a business card or something like that. But it's always some type of trouble. It could be a salesman, it could be a lot of things. But a CPS worker, you don't want to let them in your home. And the answer is no. And just say very little to them. I mean, that goes also for the police. The police, they need your permission to enter your home. And there was a case the other day, a guy was in the yard working. His wife was in the house, and the social workers came, and they didn't ask for permission to open the gate to come in his yard. They just marched in. You see, the social workers don't care about your civil rights. They don't care about your constitutional rights. They will violate them. Anyway, they asked the man, "Where's your wife?" And he says, "She's inside, but she's not feeling well. She's laying down." So without asking permission to enter the home, they march and open the door and go in the house. On top of that, they take their kids. The parents didn't know about the rules, regulations. You can't go in somebody's home. You can't go in somebody's property unless you have permission. So they did what was wrong. Their whole goal is to take the children and start collecting money. It's $1 billion business. It's $80 billion a year. $80 billion a year. It's almost the same amount of money we send to Ukraine. And it doesn't take that much to take care of children with $80 billion. And so, like in Orange County, they're taking they're taking in about $20,000 per child per month from the state. All the counties get the money from the state. And like next door, LA County is 15,000, and then someone up in Washington told me it was 8,000. So it varies from state to state, but still it's a lot of money. And you have to understand this $80 billion business that they make trafficking your children, stealing your children, putting them into foster care, and doing all this breaking the constitutional and civil rights. They're doing all this and they don't care. But, they get the $80 billion business to take care of children. But that doesn't include the salary of the social workers, the salary of the director, the other expenses they may or may have, and so forth. Okay, so that rule number 3 is a hard one. I know it is. And I know you're dealing with people that you think, wow. I mean, they get paid their salary, they get paid everything else. And on top of that, they got $80 billion they're making off the children. That's what they're making off the children. That's not what they get for their budget. I don't know how much a budget because they don't have a board of directors or supervisors. No one is watching them. Only once a year they have to report what they use for the money. And right now in Richmond, Kentucky, there's $800,000 unaccounted for. $800,000 unaccounted for. So that's the kind of agency you're dealing with. They're crooks. They're crooks, and they just don't care, and no one's stopping them. It's a tough thing. We need to get our congressmen and a congresswoman involved, or senators, or representatives. We need to make changes. We need to make accountability. Another thing about these social workers is their attitude. Now, good morning, Faye. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. So, with no accountability and taking the money and everything, it is hard. It is hard. It is hard. So these social workers get to do what they want. Now, their attitude is shown by these ladies that wear the pink t-shirts. You probably say, what ladies wear what pink t-shirts? Well, I've been talking about it. In 2022 in Prescott, Arizona, there is a CPS office in the county of Prescott, and they call themselves the Department of Children's Services, DCS. So anyway, this CPS, the Child Protection System Agency, decided to come up with 8 pink t-shirts. And on the front, it said professional kidnappers. Professional kidnappers. Now, what message does that convey to you as parents? And on the back of the t-shirts, it said, do you know where your children are? So that's the attitude that you're dealing with. That's the attitude you're dealing with. And I've talked to over 500 people since October, and I've talked to pretty much every state. Oh, thank you, Faye. She has the link that you can see. But with that attitude, that is tough on them. That's tough on them. That is tough on them. So I just, they were fired because they paraded around in public. And you can imagine what the mothers and fathers thought of that when they saw that professional kidnappers and on the back, where are your children? Do you know where your children at? That's the message. That's what they're in. They're supposed to be helping children in neglect and abuse. And it's sad that they're not helping children in neglect and abuse, because there's a lot of children and so forth that go through so much. And it's sad because we do need an agency that will watch out and protect our children. But we need an agency that is honest, that's people friendly, that want to do family reunification, because the best parents are the biological fathers and mothers of those children. The biological mothers and fathers of those children. Those are the best parents. So remember, say no to social workers. Say no to police, and talk to them in a yes/no answer. And don't tell them anything. And if it gets to the point where they keep hounding you, just say, "Excuse me, can I have your name? Because I need to talk to my attorney before I talk any further." That is your constitutional right. And you can do so by asking to talk to an attorney. And they can do nothing but shut up, and you can contact them later. Also, when you ask their name, whether it's the policemen or social workers, you want to make sure you get their badge number for the police, and then you want to get the social worker's ID name, because they will lie. They'll say, "I'm Officer Brown," and they're actually Officer Smith. Or, "I'm social caseworker Blue," and they're actually green. So it's very important that you get that information, and that way it diffuses the situation. I wish I knew that, instead of blabbing in my mouth and think I could be honest with them, and they'd be honest with you and treat you okay. Because they need a court warrant. It's a documentation that comes from the court, signed by a judge with a wet signature and embossed with a stamp at the bottom. And on the top, it should say who the warrant's to, the names of the children, the allegations, the address of where they want to send it to, the date and time they're going to do the investigation, and then the what they plan to do. Do they plan to go into the house, search the house? Do they plan to take your children or not take your children? It's got to spell it out on the warrant. It's a court document. They don't have such a thing. You don't have to let them in the house, and you could tell them that you get back to them. You can tell them you go back to them. And so I want you all to keep your house as your castle. And that goes true with the police. The police are no different than social workers. They don't have a right. Now, if there's a crime going on, let's say a shooting or fighting or ruckus or that kind of thing, they will interfere, because the safety of children is really concerned, or the safety of others. But it's got to be something in progress. Now, what they're doing lately is they'll hear an allegation, and that allegation may or may not be true, especially if it's made by a layperson. Now, there's professionals that make allegations and lay people. Professionals are your doctors and lawyers and nurses and school teachers and principals and administrators. Anybody that deals with children by law has to report child abuse or child neglect. And so they'll call it in. But lay people sometimes use a lot more than the neglect or abuse. They use it to settle a dispute because the neighbors are fighting over their yard, the dog is barking too much, or they want to retaliate against something. Maybe you didn't park the car right or something. Anyway, it's very important. Very, very, very important that you don't let them into your home and you don't talk to them and try to talk to them outside. I did for 5 years. When I lost my job through no fault of my own, I started getting hounding. I did not know at the time it was my in-laws, my wife's side of the family. They were making all this ridiculous allegations that weren't true, like we weren't feeding the children, we weren't clothing the children, we weren't paying the utility bills, we weren't taking the kids to school. All these allegations, which every time I met with them, I proved them wrong. And for 5 years, they did that too. They finally got a detective, and they wanted to search my home, and that was stupid. That was really, really, really stupid there. Now we have a person named Jackie Bluebeer, and she said, "What's the time? They're not social workers." Well, that's the problem. We have rights there. Just take the head off the snake right away. Caseworkers, assessors only can be initialized investigation to continue to investigate special cases that need to be looked up, such as abuse, addiction, impossible neglect, to always keep the parents that need to have an eye on them to keep an eye on them. But after their initial investigation, there needs to be a registered social worker with healing proper. I agree, Jackie. I don't know what city or state or country you're from, but thank you for your comment. For all those in the room, if they want to comment on that, that would be great. That'd be great. So thank you, Jackie. That was interesting. I don't know if you have another question or what, but again, if you guys, besides texting and comments, you can call in at 626-698-0990. Now, besides this situation that you're going through right now, you just got to be awful careful because they're going to try to tear you apart. Now, we have Archie Mann again, or Archie Mom, M-O-H. I probably pronounced it wrong. It's morning for me, but thank you for the good evening. He's watching it live from Liberia. That's on the west coast of Africa. And he's texted us before. And you're welcome. Yes, I'm glad you're here, Archie. He is a leader. He's a scout leader in his country. And he protects his children. And he's joined us from Liberia. And it's nice to have international flavor from around the world. So I hope things are good in Liberia. It's an interesting country. I've tried to study it a little bit about it since you first came. And so it's on the west coast of Africa. And they go through children problems and CPS problems there too. Now, another form of trafficking besides them taking your children directly into foster care is medical trafficking. And that's all part of my rule number 3. Don't let them take your children away from you at the hospital. You may have brought your children because in the middle of the night, they woke up with severe pain or something, you want to take them to the hospital, which is good idea. That's a good idea. And when you get to the hospital, keep a track of your kids. Lately, social workers for CPS are working in the hospital, and they seem to automatically want to take their children from you to put them in the child protection services. And it's sad because they're not in imminent danger. They just somehow get your permission and say, oh dear, you guys have neglected your children, and we're going to have to take your children to protect them. Well, they don't protect the children. The children in foster care are molested. They're hurt. There's all kinds of mental issues. The social worker brainwash. They alienate your children from you. They do everything possible to break apart the family. What happened to, family unification, reunification? That's what they need to be doing. And they're not. They're not. Their children are taken out of your home and put in a worst case scenario. Now, with this medical trafficking, what's happening is that a social worker working there, you see a doctor, the doctor suggests something, but you want to have your pediatrician look at it or a second opinion. That's your right. That's your medical right. And you can take the child out. But the social worker stops in. No, you don't. If you don't do what the doctor tells you to do, I'm taking your child because you're not helping them. Well, that's wrong. First of all, they don't have a warrant, so they can't take your child. Or another scenario is you're going to have the birth of your child, and you're in the birthing room, and maybe you tested positive for some type of medication taking something. Right away, the social workers want to take your baby when it's freshly born. That's wrong. No, the child belongs with the mother. There's got to be some bonding going on. That's wrong that the social workers do that. They'll come in with the police and want to wrap up the child and take them. That's wrong. They can sit in the lobby. They don't need to be in a room. You can tell the medical staff to get out of the room. So keep that in mind. When you take a child to the hospital, there are social workers that work there for CPS, and they will try to take your child. Or if you're going to birth your child, you got to really go over these things with the doctors when you take the children in. You need to tell them up front, I don't want my child taken by social workers. I'm here to have my child looked at because if he has an open wound, you have to do stitches to close the wound. But if they feel sick or cramps, something like that, the doctor can help there. Also, if you're going to birth a child, tell the doctor, I don't want them in my room. You have a right to say who you want in your birthing room. So medical trafficking goes on all the time. So that's pretty much my rule number 3 that I've talked about. But the agency is another animal. You got to know them. They are a professional spider. I don't know why they call themselves professional kidnappers, but they are a professional spider weaving a web around you, weaving you a web. And that web is going to entangle you in there because you have to understand, CPS, they don't like parents. They don't like grandparents. They don't like relatives. They don't like moms or dads. They don't like, grandfathers, grandmothers. They don't like seniors. They don't like elders. All they want to do is take your children and ruin them. Ruin them. They're not there to give a better life to the children. Yes, there are cases of neglect and abuse that a child is being physically and those kinds are not looked after. I agree, but they're far and few, and not every case is extreme danger. My case was not extreme danger, but they took my children who were in school, and they were in the STEM program, the science, technology, engineering, math program, and they were getting A's and B's in school. and they're doing good. They're always in school. They always had clothes. They had showers. Their rooms were clean. And they're very good at doing Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and AYSO soccer. But social workers don't care. A lot of those programs stop. They ruined the Boy Scouts for my two sons. They ruined it. They had to have a monitor when they went to scout meetings. The other scouts looked at them kind of strangely. You know, it was miserable. It was miserable. They had to stop a lot of the overnight programs. I don't know what to tell you. It's sad what CPS does because they updo your life. They shouldn't. They should come and assist it. If you're low on food, they should say you need to get food stamps. If you need help paying your utility bills, they will help you. There are church groups that will help you. Income is a problem, and social workers take advantage of people in low income. And when I lost my job, I lost my high-paying job, and I was low income. I'd live in my car, my RX-7 for a couple months. That was terrible. So bad that sleeping not, vertical instead of horizontal, I ended up in the hospital. And they said I need to have a proper bed to sleep in. So I've been where you guys have been. And I'm still struggling right now only because I had a great job again and then I lost it. And then I lost it. And then it's so hard at my age to find another job. Now, again, my phone number is open. You can call me at 626-698-0990. Or you can write in your comments. I've had several comments from you. I've had Lori and Tracy and Faye. I don't know where Lori's from. I don't know where Tracy's from. But Faye is from Richmond, Kentucky. And she has had several comments. And Jackie was the recent one. And I don't know where she's from. But I appreciate the comments that they make. And of course, we have the last one, which is Archie Mann, M-A-H, Ma. I'm probably not saying it around. M-A-H is Archie Ma. And he's a scout leader from Liberia on the west coast of Africa. And he's been in my room several times. He wants to come and be a guest to talk about drugs and children. So I told him to get a hold of my show producer, Grace, and email Grace at vincentwdavis.com. And she can put you on one of my 14 shows, Archie, and you could talk about CPS in Liberia. That'd be very interesting to a lot of people. I think it's great that there's an organization of social service that is supposed to help, children from neglect and abuse. They're mandated by law, but I don't know if they're helping lately. So many parents see their kids gone. Yes, they may have issues, but they can be taken care of by attending parenting classes or programs such as anger management or alcohol or drug related. Those great programs there, and so forth. But you're going to find out this agency can't be trusted. They're going to lie and deceive their way through your life. And that's why I want to go with rule number 1, a professional attorney. You need to come up with a family dependency attorney, who has experience fighting CPS and knows all about CPS. So you're probably saying, well, gee, how do I afford an attorney? Yes, they are paid attorneys. But did you know that there are attorneys that are not for pay? They're called pro bono. And there could be attorneys that have lots of cases and they want to do some pro bono work. That means they don't charge for the services or charge very little. But you should have representation in court because you don't know your way. You don't know how to navigate through CPS. They're bad. They're awful. Now you're probably saying, "Oh, I got my court-appointed attorney. They'll be great." Well, I don't know about that. Archie says, "I'm grateful, Bob. I'll be glad to appear in your show. Thanks for the work you do to our youthful generation." Well, thank you, Archie. And as I say, just write Grace at vincentwdavis.com. That's Grace at vincentwdavis.com. So we're talking about attorney. That is the key to your case to be successful. That you get yourself the right kind of attorney to fight them. You need a fighter. And if money's an issue, then, there are attorneys that are fighters that are pro bono, meaning they don't charge. Fighting the case yourself was called pro se. You're not going to go anywhere. I tried pro se. I tried using the court-appointed attorneys. They were worthless. They won't fight for your case, and they have a caseload of 30 or more. So they're supposed to be good attorneys, but in dependency court, they're not. Dependency family court, they're pals with the social worker attorneys and they're pals with the judge. Our judge was so bad that, he knew all about car claims and automobile accidents, but knew nothing about children neglect or abuse or family reunification. So it was like going to a brick wall. It wasn't until I got my attorney, who happens to be Vincent W. Davis, and he got my 2 boys back. I did lose my daughters because the social worker took revenge. She told us she'll never see her daughter. And she convinced her 12-year-old daughter to divorce us as parents, divorce her brothers, to divorce other family members, relatives, and so forth. Not only that, she encouraged her to change her name. So her name was changed. And if that wasn't bad enough, the social worker also encouraged her to seal her birth certificate so it shows no mom or dad gave birth to that child. Her birth certificate's sealed. And I don't know the ramifications about that, but that is really sad. And lastly, she was told to be adopted. And she got into foster care, but it didn't last long. And I think something happened to her while in foster care. I don't know the details, but she's not in foster care anymore. So my attorney, Vincent Davis, got back my 2 boys. My case was 3 years. It started in 2015. It was over 2017. And my oldest boy, but one of my 3 boys who had just turned 18, or no, he's older than 18. Anyway, said he wanted to come home. And my youngest boy, who turned 18, said he wanted to come home too. And we got our boys back, but we lost the daughter because we tried to fight to keep the daughter. But we lost the social worker because they lied. We have a lawsuit that we could chase after. It's still, there's no statute of limitations. I'm slowly working with Vincent Davis to try to make that lawsuit happen. So, how you go about it? Because a court-appointed attorney has a caseload of 30 people. They will not fight for you. They're supposed to be a bona fide lawyer. They're supposed to. But as Faye would tell you and other people in the room, the court-appointed attorneys are a waste of time. So to find a pro bono attorney, you just go to the internet. The internet is a wealth of information how to fight CPS. It's a wealth of information. And you can search it. Now, it's how you phrase your questions is the important thing. So if you want to find a dependency CPS fighter attorney, you're going to type in fine, and I'm going to use Georgia as an example. Fine in Athens, which is a small town, and Atlanta, Georgia, a pro bono attorney. Now, you're probably asking, why have two cities? Well, your city may be so small, it may not have enough attorneys. So that's why you want to use a bigger one. So you say fine in fine in Athens and Atlanta, Georgia, a pro bono, which means no charge, family dependency attorney. Archie said, can you please repeat the email? Yeah, I will. In fact, I'll put the email up so you can see it again, Archie. The email to be a guest on the show is grace@vincentwdavis.com. That's grace@vincentwdavis.com, Archie. It's on the lower part of my screen, and hopefully you can see it. So you just email grace@vincentwdavis.com. Okay? All right, I put my phone number back up. You can still call in at 626-698-0990. And I would love to take your call. We have about 15 minutes left of the show. So there's time for a phone call or two. Good, Archie. You got it. That's good. That's good, Archie. Right now we're talking about how to find an attorney. My rule number 1. If you have any other questions, please, call them in. I'll change the topic and help you on that. So you're looking for this attorney, a pro bono, free attorney. And the correct type of attorney it's a family dependency attorney. Its dependency is the court you're in. And you want to make sure it's family dependency. So you want to say fine in Athens and Atlanta, Georgia, a pro bono family dependency attorney. And a bunch of names should pop up. And all you need is 10 names to call. So you pick the 10 best. You make your phone call, and your first step is to determine if they're open for business, if they answer the phone or there's somebody there. Because a lot of these places are bogus. They're not any good, or they'd be old. So now you got this list of names. You called them. They answered. So you know that they're legit. They're still in business and so forth. Then what you want to do, you want to ask them some questions. And one of the most important question is, are you pro bono? Meaning that do you do service without charges? And tell them your case. If they want money or talk about money early on, then drop them. You don't need to waste your time on people like that. They should be there to help you, not about money. Not about money. And so you made that second question or that second thing and they answered and so far that first thing. And the second thing is whether they say, yes, we have several attorneys that fight CPS and they're in dependency court. So if that been said, then what you can do lastly is ask, has any of the attorneys ever fought CPS civilly, like did a civil lawsuit? If the answer is yes, then you know you got yourself a fighter because it takes a fighter to fight them. You can do a civil lawsuit after your case with them, your case is closed. And your civil lawsuit, can go back whether they lie or what they did wrong. So you gone through this list of 10. and you take in notes and you decide which one, because you have to narrow it down to 5 attorneys. And so with 5 attorneys, you're going to make consultation. You're going to pick 4, and then you're going to add Vincent Davis as one of your 5th consultation attorneys. And his number is 888-888-6582. He can be reached at. And you can schedule a consultation through that number. So you talk to these consultation attorneys, and when you call that number 888-888-6582, you say Bob Pace sent you. And when you speak to Mr. Davis, you say Bob Pace sent you. Now, if you want to go right to his calendar, you just type in the word Candidly, CALENDLY.com/law offices of VWD/Bob Pace. That takes him to his calendar. It's ticking across the bottom of my screen page. So I like very much for you to contact him, because he can navigate and help you. He cares a lot about people and about your case. Now, he charges a consultant fee of $60 for 30 minutes. That's $60 for 30 minutes. So with that being said, is that you can talk to a real life fighter dependency attorney, and that's Vincent Davis. You just schedule a consultation for 30 minutes. So after that, make your notes, talk to the attorneys, see how much they can help you, and whether they're fighters. And so you make the decision which one you have the great chemistry with. It's important to have good chemistry with your attorney, because you'll be living with them. I mean, most cases, the earliest I hear people getting out is a year. Also, Vincent Davis is a trial attorney. So there's several reasons. With 35 years of experience and a fighter, you're going to be your life better. Mine was. I got my 2 boys back. So that takes care of rule number 1. You got yourself an attorney, and he'll go any state. He's based in Southern California, but he go to Northern or Central California. He'll go to all the states. A couple weeks ago, he's in Oklahoma. So I know he does take on cases out of state. Now I have one more rule. That rule is the notebook. That notebook is something you got to keep all your notes and paperwork in. You got to keep track of it. I did them spread all over the place and post-it notes and on back of envelopes, and it was never organized. So you need a 6-inch ring binder. That's 3-ring 6-inch binder. And in there you want to stuff it full of notebook paper, college rule notebook paper. Then you want to put some subject tabs in there. And one of the first tab subject is going to be allegations. And these are allegations by the social worker or by the police or other people. So you list the incident, date, time, location, and the people that are involved in it. And then in the next line, you describe what the allegation is. And then the next line after that, you put the outcome of the allegation. And the outcome may take months down the road, but you'll get the allegation soon. So that part's important too. So you got that notebook going. Another subject matter on a tab could be info, like websites, phone numbers of social cases, social work cases, things you're trying to fight with them, tools there to handle and deal with them. And then on top of that, you may have other subject tabs such as your monitor reports. It could be also your doctor reports, seeing a psychiatrist reports, drug rehab, all those things there. You can put that in there. You can put the court papers in there, just hole punch it and have it so that you have that there, because it's important to be organized. If you're not organized, you won't be able to fight them. And being organized, you can. So that being said, I have about, let me see here. I have about 1 minute left here. And I want to thank you all for listening. Archie, I look forward to having you as a guest on my show. He's from Liberia. Faye, who's been on my show twice a day, thank you for very much of all your input and so forth. You're a wonderful mom, and she's from Richmond, Kentucky. Then there's Jackie Blue. I value your comments. I have no idea what state or city or country you're from, but I'm glad you're in my room. Tracy Smith, that goes for you also. Never give up. Those are comments, but I don't know where she's from, but she's in her room. Then there's Lori Hiller, who writes only William Mullins, but thank you for coming on my show every day, so forth. So God bless you all, and I want to thank you for being in my room. I want you not to give up. Keep fighting for your CPS children that are kidnapped them, and I'll see you tonight at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. God bless, and this is Bob Pace signing off.